So this is a video I've been wanting to do for ages. This is about being a mountain search and rescue pilot. So if that's something that you want to do in your career, this video is for you. So today we're here with Jared. He's one of the pilots for the Mountain Search and Rescue winch machine here. And Jared's going to give us a bit of a tour of his machine. So thanks for doing this, Jared.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
It. So what is this beautiful helicopter that you're flying?
This is the AS365N2 from Airbus Helicopters. We've been running it for about 4 years now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the hoist, we got the night vision goggle capability, so we're day, night rescue work with it.
So you're like on an on-call basis, so the search and rescue or mountain search and rescue call you and out you go, or do they send crews here and then you go? Or
yeah, we're tasked out by the province when a call comes in.
Yeah.
So on call, we'll launch from here with just the pilot, and we'll pick up our rescue team, including the hoist operators, on the North Shore. Most of our calls are north of Vancouver, and we've got helipads stationed on the North Shore, so we can stop in, pick up the crew en route.
Okay, so what's like a normal crew for when you go and do like a winch operation? Most
common would be one pilot, one hoist operator, and 2 rescue techs, which are hoist trained to go down the line, but we'll do some with just 1, we'll do some with 3 or 4, very much call dependent, terrain dependent. Is it a search? Are we looking for someone? Then we're gonna put people on all 4 open windows to have a look. If we've got coordinates and we've got information, it's a broken leg, we might only take 1, quick and easy, but usually pilot, hoist operator, and a couple of techs for sure.
I'm assuming this is a twin engine machine, right? So what kind of engines do you have in this?
They're Ariel, so Turbomeca Ariel 1C2s. To put it simply, it's essentially 2 A-Star B2 engines. A few small differences because it's a twin engine, but it's essentially 2 A-Star engines back there.
What kind of speed do you fly this thing at? It looks like it's built for a speed machine with your retractable gear. And
it's a fast machine. Even there's no V&E for gear up, gear down. We can go full speed with gear down as well. Yeah. But V&E is 175 knots. We've hit that a few times in a descent just for fun. but cruise speed's 145, 150 knots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you take the mirror off, you take the hoist off, it'll cruise well over 150 knots.
Wow.
But with the gadgets hanging on it, we're just shy of 150 would be our normal cruise.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you said you got, this is all rigged for goggles too, so you'll go out and do winching at night with the goggles on too?
Yeah, we're all trained and approved pilots, hoist operators to do nighttime rescue, whether it's hover exits, searching, hoisting. Yeah.
Hover exits on goggles, eh?
Well, once you're down low, you're looking under the goggles.
Oh, okay.
The goggles are pointing straight ahead and your eyes peek underneath
Under the goggles
and out to the side. So I'm really looking out of the side window here, the chin bubble here, which this machine has incredible visibility for the pilot. Most of my work is done, the landing lights lighting up the ground.
Yeah.
Once I'm 20 feet away from ground and closer, I'm probably 80% off goggles, 20% through the goggles.
Gotcha.
Your eyes are constantly kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
But once you're down low, like when you're hovering with a fix on a stump or a tree for a hover exit, you're off goggles. Your landing lights on these are so bright. You got 2 bulbs, I think they're 500 watt each.
Is this a bigger window that you put in, or is this just the standard?
No, this is standard. It's actually designed this way for a Cat A profile for hospital helipads. So the pilot can vertical up and back and have the helipad in sight at all times. But it works super well for us for work in the bush. All right, welcome to the office, you may say. Spent a lot of time when we rebuilt it in 2018 focusing on getting this cockpit layout how we wanted it. We added the GTN 750 from Garmin, so it's all IFR certified. We can, LPV approved on there. Autopilot's tied in with the Garmin. We got the iPads running for flight, as well as all of our flight checklists are built into the iPad right here. The iPad is talking to the Garmin. If you want to build a flight plan in your hotel room the night before, you build it in for flight. When you jump in the machine, it's spitting the information over to the Garmin, which
that's a really nice feature.
Those toys are fun. It's definitely the newer technology that I know the modern aircraft have, and it's something we thought was nice to add to. It's a 1996 airframe, this one, so none of these toys were stock in it in 96. So we got our checklist in for flight here. Start checklist, I won't take you through the whole thing because it takes a while. There's a lot to check. What we've built is, first start a day check will take you through the whole program, all your morning checks and everything, and then after that, you're onto the quick start checklist, which is just, let's get up and get flying. Collectives, down and locked, circuit breakers are in, all up top here. They're all visual. If you see one popped, it's quite obvious. Parking brake is on. You've got a pressure gauge down below. You make sure you got pressure. We're on wheels, right? So brake on, so we're not rolling around. Switches on our morning start checks. Essentially, if it's radios or sat phone, we just skip right past it. We're only checking the important stuff. So you got autopilot panel, fuel panel, electrical panel, and you're just setting everything up pre-start. T's and P's for engines and systems, dual NG gauges, just like what an A-Star would have, but you got 2. Torque gauge, fuel gauge, and then just your instrument cluster.
So is this, are these engines, are they like a FADEC start, or are they a modulated start?
No, modulated start. So you got 2 FFCL, the fuel flow control levers up top, and you're essentially just modulated start, just like you would a B2 A-Star, into the idle gate. Once she's up and running, slowly ramp up to flight gate. When you're up and going, all your levers are up and forward. Nice little additional features you wouldn't find on the A-Stars is you've got warning lights on your fuel levers. If you had an engine failure or fire, you look up and the correct engine's going to have a light on to let you know that's the one in trouble. And then you're looking at more instrument lighting, nav lights, and some extra systems up top here as well. So Lots of buttons and switches to learn.
Yeah. It's a nice layout. I really like the cockpit layout in this machine. There's nothing that's too far away. Everything seems to be in a nice place, and it's a nice layout. It's a really nice.
Yeah, it's aside from the far instruments, it's all pretty neat and tidy.
Yeah. You can definitely tell it's got some A-star heritage in it.
Absolutely. The cyclic, every button has the same cyclic as the A-stars.
Yeah.
The difference is on this one, every single button does something. Yeah. There's no blanks. So you have a few more buttons to learn, but once you learn what everything does, it's the same feel as an A-star, really, and a lot of people around Canada definitely come with some A-star background.
Yeah, so you basically, once you pick it up, it flies just like an A-star, but faster?
Similar. Autopilot off, which we always fly with the autopilot on. The upper modes, like an altitude hold, heading hold, those you're not on all the time, but the basic stability function of the autopilot's running at all times. Yeah. It's just rock solid in the hover. We really like long lining out of it. We really like hoisting out of it. Four-bladed rotor with the autopilot. It is super stable.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So when you're like you're doing your hoist and stuff, are you manually hovering, or is the autopilot doing the hovering? You're
hands-on manually flying, but the autopilot is always working behind the scenes as the stability system is running behind the scenes, making micro adjustments to keep what you're doing very stable. And then you've got the force trim as well, so you can trim the cyclic to where you want it and then just relax, and unless you want to make a move, it'll just stay there. Nice. There's little quirks you learn along the way. If you throw 600 pounds on a hoist, the machine tips to the right.
Yeah.
An A-star would tip to the right and just kind of stay put.
Yeah.
An autopilot wants to keep your attitude.
Right.
So it's going to try to correct, which is going to cause a drift left. Mm-hmm. So as you get a load on the hoist, you'll reset your force trim. Oh, okay. Otherwise, if you do nothing, it'll restabilize, which will add a drift because you've added 600 pounds to the right side. Yeah. So you learn those quirks along the way, but you definitely take advantage of that autopilot.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, why work harder, right? You let the machine do all the work.
Absolutely. Heading hold, if you're in a hover, put your feet on the floor pretty much. If you want the nose to turn, you can use the pedals. Yeah. Otherwise, the nose will just keep whatever heading you're on. Pull power, collective up, down, nose just holds. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So Jarrett, if somebody's coming straight out of flight school, this is obviously a job that requires a lot of very specific experience, right? So, you know, if a guy or girl comes up to you and be like, Jarrett, I want to get into your seat at some point in my career, so what would you recommend for them to do to get the necessary experience to do your job?
I don't like sharing. It's my seat.
But when you retire.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's definitely a range of ways, especially in Canada, to build up experience in hours. For us, we are very much VFR utility based. We do use NVGs. It's an IFR rated helicopter. We don't actively fly at IFR. Yeah. For us, the big push is a solid utility long line background. Right. For me, I did start with moving some drills up in northern BC. Figured out a little bit of what I was doing up there, and then luckily I was flying during the seismic boom, so I got to move thousands and thousands of bags on the long line on seismic, and that was my key to figuring that all out. Yeah. It's all about gaining a wide range of experience, but for us, mountain experience, long line experience, that's the key. Yeah. Things like learning the more complex systems, learning the NVGs, that can be taught in-house without too many complications. But learning those basic skills on the line, in the bush, that's the trick. And some places it's hard to find that, but yeah.
So is there like a minimum hour requirement that the provincial search and rescue teams require for their pilots to have? Like, is there an insurance minimum or something?
No, the province will fall back on Transport Canada. Right. So for rescue operations in Class D, so any human longline work, it's 2,000 hour minimum with a certain amount of hours on tight, a certain amount of hours in mountainous regions if the rescues are going to be in the mountains. So step one is meeting the Transport Canada minimums. And then we still don't just throw you to work. There's many stages. We're fortunate, we do a lot of longline work, say supplying lumber to the Grouse Grind on the North Shore. So you're flying longline loads, 200-foot line, sometimes 250-foot line, trying to place lumber on a set of stairs on the hiking trail. So it's a great spot for us to evaluate pilots, see where they're at, skill and comfort-wise. And we can use some of that local utility work to train towards the rescue work. Engine oil tank, just like an A-Star. This is your number 2 engine. Number 2, fuel filters here. It's all in front of the firewall. If you ever did have an engine fire, your tanks and your filters are all on the other side of it to help keep them safe. Short shaft coming in from engine 2 goes into the combiner, which is direct mounted to the main gearbox. So 2 engines, 2 short shafts, which combine into the one main gearbox.
So basically just turn it 90 degrees there and shoot it straight into the main transmission.
Straight in, with a freewheel in there. So if one engine explodes, one engine seizes, one engine catches on fire, it is fully independent from the other engine. It can't affect the other one, even if you had a major malfunction on this side. And then you've got hydraulic accessories up front here. This is your second hydraulic pump, which is driven off the gearbox.
So this is a dual hydraulic system on this machine?
No, there's actually 4 hydraulic systems. So you've got hydraulics 1, hydraulics 2, aux hydraulics, and then emergency hydraulics. So 1 and 2 are your dual hydraulics to run all of your flight control servos. Aux hydraulics is what's going to run your landing gear, your parking brake, that sort of thing. And the emergency hydraulics is just there to lower your gear in emergency if the aux were to fail. Engine, as you can see, anyone who's flown A-Stars, it's pretty familiar. A couple models of 76s use a similar engine as well. So it's nice for us at Talon, if you are working your way up through the fleet, A-Star, Twin Star, and then the 365. So they're all Airbus brand. They all follow a very similar thought logic with their electrical systems, hydraulic systems. You go from single hydraulics on the 350, dual on the 355, and then triple on this with the 4th emergency. But they're all the same kind of thought logic and functioning between them all, so it's easy to transition throughout the fleet. It's an Ariel engine. You learn these engines on A-Stars, and then you've just got 2 of them now. There's a few quirks about a twin that the single on the A-Star wouldn't have, so you got to learn that sort of stuff. Automatic overspeed shutoff, and then your limiting governor at the top end for your OEI emergency power. Slightly different on this, but essentially, if you've learnt an Ariel on an A-Star, you're going to be quite familiar and quite comfortable with these.
Nice. So each engine's in its own like firewall compartment then, its own compartment?
Yeah, you'll see this firewall that separates engine 1 from engine 2, keeps them isolated from the main gearbox. The drive shaft that runs from the main gearbox all the way to the tail is also underneath this. So the engines are very much isolated from everything else. Yeah. If there were a fire, you got to think inside that chamber's 900 degrees, 1,000 degrees in there. Like there's always a fire in there, but if that heat ever got out and caused a fire externally, we've got 2 fire bottles in the back which we can shoot off from the cockpit to help fight that fire, but it should remain isolated from the rest of the machine.
And do those fire bottles shoot into the compartment and take care of the fire in the actual compartment itself? Yeah,
not in the engine, but into the entire compartment.
Yeah,
and then here's your little fire bottle pressure check. Get in there. Get in there. She's still got pressure. We're good.
How much cable's on your hoist? Like how high can you be to lower them down?
Yeah, so the hoist it's a Goodrich hoist. It's got 300 feet of cable, so just shy of 300 foot usable, essentially 290 foot of usable. You keep a little extra on the drum there. We're around here, big trees on the west coast, steep hills, quite often chewing up 200 foot plus of cable, so we need that 300 foot option. We haven't maxed it out on a call, but in training we'll max it out on occasion just to get the pilots, hoist operators used to that feeling. But standard calls around here, definitely using a full 200 foot of it. Hoist operators just got full control of the cable with the pennant, so in and out, control the speed right there. And then all the automatic safety features built into the hoist. It'll slow down as they're getting close to the max cable length, and then it'll stop at max cable length.
And does it slow down as they bring it up too?
Yeah, full speed on the way up, 150 foot per minute real speed on this one. And when they're about 6 feet from the cabin, so their heads will still be below the airframe, it slows down to a nice crawling speed. Bring them up to the cabin door, and what the hoist operator will do is they'll attach everybody onto a safety lanyard before they come inside. That transition in and out of the aircraft is the most critical aspect on the hoist. People have come out of aircraft thinking they were attached to the hook, but the hook wasn't on properly. Same with loading. If you ever slipped, you could shock load that cable. So transitioning in or out, they're always on an additional safety lanyard, which is fixed to the airframe. So safety lanyard on, they'll come inside, then they can detach from the hook, and they're still attached to us when they go find a seatbelt.
Right, gotcha. And when you're winching, from a pilot's point of view, are you winching looking down like you're doing vertical reference, or your head up, keeping it in one position? Or like
I'm head up, but I'm not typically straight out the front. As we saw earlier there, we have a huge amount of visibility out our right side. So I'll usually just pick a good reference out my, maybe by my foot out the window and hold that. But I'm head up. On this machine to long line, we take the door off, and when we're hoisting, it's door on.
Okay, so then you're getting...
So the hoist operator is doing all of the positioning.
So they're just calling it out. They're basically saying, right 10 feet or whatever kind of...
Yeah, they'll never use feet or meters. They just speak numbers. The numbers don't have a exact meaning, but you build through training and relationships with the hoist operators and pilots. There's always, you can hear the tempo on the approach is standard is we always start at 300, so 300, 200, 100. And you get to know when they're saying 100, I should be going 15 knots. When they say 20, I should be at a walking pace. When they say 5, I should be like crawling. And once you're on site, if they say right 1, smallest move you can make. If they say right 2, you just start coming to the right a little bit more. There's no perfect, it doesn't mean 1 meter, it doesn't mean 1 foot, but it's just setting a tempo with them, and they're moving us into position. You're flying the aircraft horizontally.
Yeah.
They're running the cable vertically, but once you're on final there, they're in charge of all the movements of guiding you.
Can you remain in a hover if you have an engine failure with this thing?
No, this one doesn't have a single engine out of ground effect hover.
Right.
So on this, engine fails, we just gain some forward speed and then it'll easily climb away. So there's always that relationship with the hoist operator. They're telling you where the load is subject to hazards. Let's say it's a tree canopy. They're always calling load is above the canopy, below the canopy. So if you had an issue, you can fly away immediately, or if the load is in the trees, excuse me, you would call out as a pilot, abort engine failure. They'd reel out at full speed as you kind of just slowly start sinking as that load gets to the ground. Cut, cut, cut. We cut the cable, we tip forward and we fly. Sounds very easy. All that happens very quick.
So you're trying to put them down on the ground so you can cut the cable and...
If they're below the canopy, yes, their one and only choice is to go down. They reel out. We kind of just start settling at full power of the second engine. And cut the cable as we rotate.
And if you're above the canopy, it's a hang on because you're coming up and we're going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much forward airspeed at all to get a positive climb rate. Yeah, we train for it, we brief for it. Start of every mission, we brief, here's our normal procedures, here's our emergency procedures. The likelihood of one of these engines failing like that is very, very, very low, but we are ready for it. The more common thing might be, oh, we got an engine chip light. Let's assess that. Let's go for a flight. This engine chip is serious. Let's shut that engine down. It's not engine's working, boom, engine's not working. Yes, that could happen. That likelihood is low, but we still prepare for it.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be a mountain search and rescue pilot, as soon as you come out of flight school, get into that utility sector, get some time on the long line, get into the mountains, and one day you can be flying a machine like this. Don't forget, if you're going to be starting flight school soon, get over to pilotteacher.com, and there is the new course that I've launched there. So it teaches you over 100 ways to save money at flight school, so you may get an opportunity to fulfill your dream and become a mountain search and rescue pilot. I'll see you next time.